Part 1. The Man Who Laughed for Others, London, 1871. The city breathed smoke. It crept through narrow alleys and climbed the iron ribs of bridges, settled on brick walls like a second skin, and drifted endlessly beneath gas lamps that glowed like tired eyes struggling against the night. Horses clopped upon wet cobblestone streets, factory whistles cried like wounded beasts, and above it all loomed the palace of Blackthorn, its towers piercing the fog as if attempting to escape the very age that had built them. Inside those walls lived a man whose purpose was laughter. His name was Edgar Bellwyn, though no one called him that anymore. They called him Fool. Edgar had not always been a jester. Once, long ago, he had been a boy with ink-stained fingers and questions too large for his small chest. He was born in the slums of Southwark, where the Thames stank of rot and secrets, and children learned early that silence was safer than hope. His father had been a bookbinder, a quiet man who believed knowledge was sacred even when the world mocked it. His mother died young, and his father followed her into the earth not long after, crushed beneath the weight of poverty and grief. Edgar survived by learning one thing very well: how to be unseen. But fate, cruel and theatrical, had other plans. At 14, thin as a shadow and starving, Edgar was caught stealing bread near the palace gates. The guards dragged him inside, intending to make an example of him. Instead, something strange happened. As they mocked him, Edgar spoke. Not in anger, not in fear. He made them laugh. His voice twisted pain into humor, misery into mockery so sharp and clever that even the captain of the guard wiped tears from his eyes. By nightfall, Edgar was no longer a thief. He was a jester in training. Years passed, and Edgar learned the art of laughter the way others learned war. He studied timing, silence, cruelty, and charm. He learned when to bow, when to insult, and when to smile like a man who knew his place. The court adored his wit, but despised his existence. A jester was not a man. He was a mirror. And mirrors are never loved. King Alastair IV ruled then, a man obsessed with appearances. He loved Edgar's performances because they made him feel wise, powerful, and untouchable. Edgar danced in motley colors beneath chandeliers while nobles laughed behind gloved hands. They threw coins at his feet and insults at his back. He accepted both. Because Edgar knew something they did not. Laughter, when sharpened, could cut deeper than any blade. Yet, despite his sharp tongue, Edgar was alone. He slept in a cold chamber beneath the eastern tower, surrounded by dust and forgotten furniture. At night, he read discarded books stolen from the palace library, volumes deemed too old, too strange, or too dangerous. He read by candlelight until wax dripped like tears onto the pages. That was how he found the book. It was not meant to be found. Hidden behind a false panel in a forgotten corridor, the tome was bound in black leather cracked with age. No title marked its cover. No author claimed its words. When Edgar touched it, the candle flickered violently, and the air grew heavy, as if the room itself were holding its breath. The first page did not contain words. It contained a reflection. Edgar stared into it and saw not his painted face, but something older, something watching him. The book did not speak aloud, but its presence pressed against his mind like a whispered promise. "You see the world as it is," it seemed to say. "You laugh so you do not scream." Against every instinct, Edgar opened it, and the world shifted. Part 2, the book that knew his name. The book did not teach spells. It taught truth. Each page revealed patterns hidden beneath society, how power flowed, how fear moved crowds, how belief shaped reality more firmly than steel. It spoke of forgotten kings, of crowns earned not by blood but by understanding. It described laughter as a weapon, humiliation as a form of control, and symbols as the true rulers of men. Edgar read obsessively. With every chapter, he felt the world sharpen. He began to see how nobles postured, how priests manipulated faith, how the king's authority rested on illusion as much as law. The book did not command him. It waited. At court, Edgar's performances changed subtly. His jokes became more pointed, his pauses more deliberate. He spoke truths disguised as humor, and the court laughed without realizing they were laughing at themselves. The people, however, began to hate him. In the streets, rumors spread. They said the fool mocked suffering, that he served the crown while children starved, that he laughed at the poor for the amusement of the rich. Edgar heard their whispers when he ventured outside in disguise. Stones followed whispers. Once a brick struck his shoulder. Another time someone spat at his feet. He never defended himself. The book taught him patience. Then King Alistair fell ill. The court grew tense. Advisors circled like vultures. The heir, Prince Reginald, was weak and easily influenced. Edgar watched everything from the margins, smiling as always, and the book whispered, not commands, but possibilities. One night, as Edgar sat alone, the book opened to a page he had never seen before. It described a ritual, not magical, but psychological, a way to bind loyalty through shared fear, a coronation not of gold, but of belief. Edgar understood. Power was not taken, it was given unknowingly. When King Alistair died, the kingdom mourned loudly and briefly. Prince Reginald ascended the throne, crowned amid uncertainty. Edgar stood beside him, bells silent for once. The people jeered. "Fool!" they shouted. "Dance!" Edgar bowed and smiled. Part 3. The King. No one saw coming. Reginald's reign was short, not because Edgar killed him, because Edgar let him fall. Guided by the book's teachings, Edgar subtly shaped perception. He whispered jokes that undermined confidence. He staged humiliations disguised as entertainment. He turned laughter into doubt and doubt into rebellion. When riots broke out, Edgar stood in the square, not as a jester, but as a speaker. He spoke gently. He spoke honestly. For the first time, he removed his painted smile. The people saw a man who had been mocked as they were mocked, used as they were used, a man who knew the cruelty of power and the weakness of kings. The book remained hidden. The people never knew its name. They crowned Edgar not with gold, but with belief. And when he finally sat upon the throne of Blackthorn, Edgar Bellwyn did not laugh. He closed the book, because it had fulfilled its purpose.